Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Resto Mod Daisy, and today we've got a preview of what we're doing here in the month of December. Yes, Christmas has arrived, and we're going to do our dangdest to get some product available for anybody that wants it. We've got 4 guns in the queue. Now, one of these guns, this Model 1938, is actually a customer gun that I've got to convert. We're going to put a Slim Jim stock on it, fire blue it, upgrade the spring and air tube, and install a Daisy Model 25 mag. Should make it a real thumper. Probably run about 325 when we get done with it. Be a neat little piece. The one underneath it is a number 111 Model 40 that has been converted to the sliding spring block, and notice there's no spring anchor present here. And this little gem also has the advantage of the rear sight assembly was dismounted, so it doesn't have a rear sight, which gives me an opportunity to install one of these little puppies. This is Daisy's flip peep sight, normally found on a Model 94. It's a neat little item. I find that with my old eyes, that aperture is just not big enough, so I'm probably going to drill that out to be a little bit larger, turn it into kind of a ghost ring. Now, this little guy here is neat, but most people, when they get them, they'll just be flopping around left and right. Well, that's because they don't have the small screw here set for the sight selection. You can tighten that screw down and it's a peep sight. You can loosen the screw up, flip it forward, and now she's a buckhorn. And that gives it a neat piece of flexibility in terms of utility for sighting purposes. So anyway, on this one, we'll bore out that tiny little aperture to something a little bigger so that my ancient eyes can actually see through it to hit stuff with. And that'll go right back here on the back of the receiver and be secured with the stock screw, and that will give us a very long sight radius, which is kind of a cool thing. I don't think it's going to be that big a factor because since this is a smoothbore gun, but still, it's neat. You don't see them set up that way very often. As you can see from this gun, we've already started the wire wheel process, knocking down the original finish, what was left of it. The steel underneath looks pretty good. This is the original side, mostly patina. Oh, and this particular gun was missing the lariat, so I had to fabricate a replacement part. And I'll have to do the service work here before I go ahead and peen that in place. So we're going to put a Slim Jim stock on it. As you'll notice, the profile here is much different from the bigger stocks that I do. And I'm going to try on this one, I'm going to try a really long forearm, but that'll be skinnied down. We'll see what that ends up looking like. I think it's going to be pretty nice, but it'll be substantially thinner than the fat bobs I normally build. Next gun's a Model 1938. We discussed that briefly. It's going to be converted to a sliding spring block. It's going to have a set of Slim Jim stocks on it. We'll wire wheel the paint off, fire blue the finish, do some internal mods. Now, this old cracker back here. This is a classic Resto Mod Daisy acquisition. It is a number 111 Model 40. It does have the, down here on the buttstock, we've got the proper imprint, but you'll notice that the stock itself, even though it says Fred Harmon, the stock is a bit of a crack working. It's still solid, but it's going to get replaced. Up here we see the classic beat up Daisy syndrome, which is I lost my original screw, and now I'm going to stick just a different screw in it. What the hey, it doesn't matter that much, does it? No, I don't guess it does. Now this one has the small screw at the top, but I don't believe that's factory, because that's way smaller than the small screw on these older guns. And let's travel down to the front end and take a look at the, it doesn't have a barrel band, and it does have, I believe that's a welded front sight. Kind of hard to tell. Yeah, that might have been peened. This may be a copper band. Well, you know, at some point in time it was. There's evidently no copper on it now. But I don't see a weld, hold it, that's a weld mark. All right, so that was welded. Oh well, no treasure there. But same process, we'll probably convert it to a 2740 sliding spring block gun, do some internal upgrades. And the last one back here is yet another 11140. It's got a nicer Fred Harmon stock. It does have the original factory screws in a couple of spots, the plain Jane cast iron lever, fixed rear sight, does have a barrel band and a factory forearm. And when we snake down here to the muzzle, well, I can't tell on that one either. It's not an obvious weld spot, but I don't see a peen either. And I don't see any traces of copper, so I don't think there's anything to get excited about. Haven't gutted either one of these two. I don't know what the mainsprings or conditions are in or what conditions inside the guns are, but those are the 4 that are on the project list. And we're also working on this mare's leg job that I picked up from a viewer. Still haven't quite got it where I want it yet. First set of stocks I built didn't have enough flare, so I'm building another set. Anyway, that's an update today from Resto Mod Daisy here in the early days of December. And I want to wish everybody, all the viewership, a Merry Christmas. Shane Bruce, Resto Mod Daisy, signing off.